Welcome to our daily Forex market analysis call, and this is for trading on September 19th, 2018. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. All right, so as usual, we'll start off by taking a look at our economic calendar here. So in terms of the news, we do have monetary policy statement coming out for Japan. Japan has had a loose monetary policy for quite some time. So currently the interest rates are negative. They're expected to stay there. But again, the comments from Bank of Japan will make a difference, especially with the backdrop of additional tariffs and that type of stuff. So that will be important. And going forward into Wednesday here, we do have, again, Bank of Japan press conference. There's no time for that. There's no set time for it, but it will be out early London session, or in the European session, their late Asian session. So having said that, so we just have to be really just pay attention to the comments that come out of Bank of Japan, and they are highly likely to say something about it or about the trade wars, because usually when there is news about trade wars, Japanese yen tends to do well, tends to strengthen, and Japan does not want their currencies to strengthen too much, because that is bad for their exports, because exports become too expensive. So over the last few days, we have been seeing back and forth with Japanese yen crosses here. So that's why they're expected to, we're expecting something from them in regards to the trade wars, and they'll be trying to basically play their currency down. Other than that, we have CPI numbers, inflation data for England here, UK, and that will have an impact on British pound. It is expected to be slightly lower, not a big difference here. So if the CPI numbers come in line with expectation, that will be good for UK here. Otherwise, we could see British pound drop if they come out negative. If they come out positive, it's likely to go up. Now, we do have Brexit negotiations going on, a lot of comments coming out of the parties in regards to the Brexit negotiations. Those do tend to have an impact, so make sure you're paying attention to your news feeds to keep track of that. In the US session here, we do have building permits and housing starts numbers. These numbers have become more important now than they used to be before, so those will make a difference for the US dollar. We also have President Draghi, ECB President Draghi speaking. His speech didn't really have much of an impact, and last time he spoke, but again, we do have to be mindful of that in case some questions get asked or his speech addresses any of those key areas that the market participants watch out for. But generally, if it's a scheduled speech, the speech gets released before he starts to talk. So, but we just have to be careful with it. Now, we do have crude oil inventories, which will have an impact on oil and Canadian dollar. And then we have GDP numbers for New Zealand here. New Zealand, that will have an impact on New Zealand dollar. So that's in terms of the news here. So let's move on to our charts. We'll start off with Euro US dollar here. Euro dollar has been trading in this range that we talked about. We see that price came into the high here, and then we have a nice bearish pin bar here. So bias for this one is to the downside. However, we could expect a pullback into a 1.1705-ish area, and then looking for a drop. Overall bias is bearish for this one, and I'm looking for a move like that. And it is still range bound. So within range bound, the bias is bearish. So if you take a look at it, this is where price came to, and this is the resistance that we are dealing with at the moment. So looking for a pullback, then a drop. Bias is bearish for euro dollar. Pound dollar here, this one hasn't really done much the entire day. Very, very small move. pulled into the support and has stayed above the support. So that's important, because since price has stayed above the support, chances are it's going to go higher. So British pound is bullish here, and the next target that we are looking for would be a 1.3220 level, and above that we are looking at 1.3280 level. So bias is bullish for British pound. Okay, so next one is Aussie dollar here. Aussie dollar was bullish today. We saw that price did go and test the low here and then pushed up higher. Now we are into resistance. So the candle close is bullish today for the day. So this is the daily candle close looking bullish. Now resistance, that's something to be careful with. But overall, we have to see or wait for price to break through before taking a long in this, because even though the bias is to the upside there, if it's not able to break through the resistance, it can just come back into this range that it's been trading in for the last little while. So this is the range. As we can see, price has been trading in this range for the last 4 days now, and if it does not break through the resistance, it can just come back in within the range and then drop and go back down just like it did here. But overall, bullish candle close, and once it breaks through the resistance here, next target is 0.7310 area. So bullish bias for Aussie dollar. New Zealand dollar here. New Zealand dollar has been going sideways, hasn't really done a whole lot. So this is where we are. It has pushed up slowly, but multiple pins here, and we have pin on the top. So this is sideways right now, neutral. It looks like it's trying to go higher, but it hasn't really gotten anywhere. So as a result of that, bias would be sideways. With this one, it could go and test the high of the range here. It could do one of these and then come back down. So that's the bias is sideways. However, if it does break out, then it could go to the next level here and it could turn bullish. So the next level will be 66.70 level, but it would have to break through the resistance in order to get there. So my bias is neutral to sideways for now, but this can happen. So we have to be mindful, especially if Aussie dollar does that, New Zealand dollar can follow it as well. Now, dollar CAD was a bearish. So this is what we had talked about, where price had dropped, pull back, and drop. So looking for it to drop further here. Daily candle close is daily candle close is bearish here. So very nice bearish engulfing candle close. So looking bearish, and biases to the downside. 1.2900 will be the target to the downside for dollar CAD. Euro pound here, this one is looking bearish as well. We have a